You know, personally, I've been at Inman 2 years now, and it's that kind of perspective and visionary leadership that Brad brings to this industry, which is one of the reasons why I know I love working at Inman News, and I know Chris loves working at Inman News as well. So for what Brad has done for the industry, let's just give him one more round of applause, can we?
Absolutely. So the Agents of Tomorrow asked us to come and share a message with you guys today. They wanted to let you know that the cottage economy that Brad just explained brilliantly, it is here, and it's in your industry, and it's happening right now, and there's some things that we need to change. What we wanted to figure out is, what are the goals of the agents that you want working for you in the future? What does the agent of tomorrow look like, and what can we take away from their business model, because it might be the best business model in the room? They're running their businesses efficiently. One of the things that we wanted to look at specifically was time, money, and expectations from you if you're a broker, franchise, etc. How are they making their income? What are they spending it on? How's it coming in? And what we learned was a little bit alarming. And we wanted to share it because we want you guys to take action and improve upon the industry as a whole. And this is the room that can do that. There aren't a lot of rooms that can do that. So what I wanted to get into, first off, was how we were able to do this, because the message that they had, that they wanted us to share with you today, was certainly loud and clear. We have a unique relationship here at Inman, especially Katie and myself. We have a bond with real estate agents. We're in the digital trenches with them every single day of the year. We're actually speaking at conferences all over the country, belly to belly with real estate agents. And what you're gonna see when we look at the data is that you don't have that opportunity anymore. You're not belly to belly with your own workforce. So how are you gonna get them to listen to you? How are you gonna get them to execute things? How are you gonna advise them in an era where you may not know what advice to give yourself, right? So it's tough right now. We wanted to look at what was working and share that with you guys. So on December 18th, Inman News did a survey. 1,500 plus agents responded within the first 2 weeks. 1,500. Think about the emails you're sending your agent force. Are they getting opened? Are they getting listened to? Are they even reading what you're sending out from your own messaging from your corporate situation? So the agents took notice, and they stood up, and they were mad as hell, and they said, we don't want to take this anymore. And they said that the industry's changing, and here's how it's changing. Here's what we want you to do for us in the future. Because a lot of the people in the room right now aren't even getting the right questions responded to. They may not know what questions to be asking. And sadly, you may not want to hear the answers to the questions that we did ask. But we think there's gold in here. We wanted to cover it. 750 hours worth of agents responding, more than 30 minutes to respond. We asked more than 80 questions, and we asked questions that most organizations aren't even allowed to ask. You can't put success in this industry without looking at the income metric. We have to look at what they're making to be successful. Followers and friends and these things are hard to quantify. So what we wanted to show you is, what are the agents in the industry right now today, which are the agents of tomorrow? What are they doing, and what do they think of you? And these are only agents making more than $100,000 right now in a difficult economy, mostly because they're executing Brad's vision of the cottage economy, and they're going straight to consumer. So first statistic that we wanted to take a look at, 92%. 92% of the agents that are making more than $100,000 right now are in your office less than 15 hours a month. So if they're not in the huddle and they're not coming to the meetings, because let's look at the meetings. By the way, 17% aren't coming to the office ever. 92% less than 15 hours for the whole month. So how do you coach them up if they're not in the office? Think about that. The other thing I want you guys to start thinking about is, what are you going to use your time on when they're there? Are you going to spend it on things that are going to help you or help them? And some of that data was pretty alarming as well. 42%, that's the number of agents that make $100,000 today that never attend an office meeting. How can you coach if they're not in the huddle? The sad thing with this statistic is that about half of them are attending because they don't want to, but the other half are aren't attending because it isn't even being offered. So there isn't even a meeting to go to anymore. 35%. 35% of the agents making more than $100,000 right now today do not pay you a fee for desk, technology, or marketing. What happens when the other 65% read that when they tweet it? What are they going to want? When I find out that I can make this much income with zero cost from a desk fee, marketing fee perspective, that's going to change their mindset. 83%. 83% of the people making the money in the industry, they want you to communicate with them digitally. Email, text, social. 17% wanted the phone. So are you communicating the way that they like to be communicated with? I think sometimes we think that these young kids are using all the tech. Those guys are texting. All these teenagers are texting. 83% of the agents that make the money in the business want text, email, or not phone calls. They don't want phone. They would prefer social communication like Twitter and Facebook over the telephone. So are you communicating with them the way they want to be communicated with? The last statistic that I want to share, and then Katie's going to share some really stunning data around social media, is 61%. So 61% of the agents that work for you guys are considering opening their own brokerage. And that's the agents that make more than $100,000 per year. So I've been in all these discussions over the last few years over whether is the agent our consumer or is the consumer our consumer. And when we looked at the data, we started to feel a little bit like that the agent wasn't your consumer anymore. They may now be your competitor. And that's what the data showed us. So what we want to do is help you figure out how can you get these 6 out of 10 people, if they were in a lineup, what do they look like? How old are they? What are the attributes that they possess? So that 1, they don't leave and you make the right adjustments, but 2, so that you'll know how to find the right people in the future. So how do you pick these people out of a lineup? That's the question.
So 6 out of 10 agents are thinking about leaving and starting their own brokerage. Who do they think they are? Do they think because they have a Facebook page, or because they have a free WordPress blog, or they're working from the cloud, that they can now run their own brokerage? We looked at what are they doing with their time, what are they doing with their money, with their resources. Let's look at social media. One of the things that's been missing when we talk about social media is quantifiable data. And for the first time, we have quantifiable data that specifically pinpoints social media with an agent earning over $100,000. We looked at ages, we looked at backgrounds, we looked at experiences, number of years in business. And everybody wants to know the true ROI of social media. I get asked that all the time. Is it just a fad? Is it just a time suck? Or is it a really good use of my time? We know from NAR that 30% of agents are using social media. And the average income, according to NAR, last year was $34,000. So we decided to dig a little bit deeper. Is there a correlation to the number of friends and followers on social media channels and income to real estate agents? And what platforms are the agents of tomorrow embracing? 75% of agents making over $100,000, the agents of tomorrow, have a Facebook business page. 75%. But not only that, when looking at these agents who made over $100,000, almost half of them, 47%, had over 500 Facebook friends. 30% had over 500 Twitter followers. So they're not just building a Facebook page, they're building their network over multiple platforms. Google+. Google+ is one of the fastest growing social networks. It's still in its infancy. Out of the agents we surveyed who made over $100,000, 69% of those agents are already on Google+. What does this say? Agents who are making a 6-figure income are early adopters. A lot of agents say, let's wait and see. And the agent of tomorrow is saying, no, I'm going to dive in and I'm going to see how this works. Video. We see a huge opportunity in video, which is why here at Connect, we're devoting an entire track just to video marketing. 81% of the people we surveyed making over $100,000 have a video on YouTube, have a YouTube channel that they actively use for marketing. 81%. Frequency of posting. Does frequency of posting to social media accounts make a difference? Yes. 44% of the people who make $100,000 or more post to their social media networks once a day, if not more. The conclusion here is that agents making over $100,000 are clearly embracing social media and doing so in a really strategic way. The agents that are using social media are doing it 3 times more than the average agent and are also making 3 times more income.
But it isn't all about social, because we know that even after you hear those statistics, many of you will still ask that question. Should my agents be on Facebook? There may be some people in the room that if we asked to raise their hand and be honest, that you actually have told your agents to not be on those sites, I think quite a few hands will go up, possibly. So there's more than Facebook. This is the question that I was the most focused on in the survey. How do you get the most dollars back with your efforts per dollar spent? What is the best bang for the buck in the real estate industry right now for you? And I think what's interesting with this, and I think it goes back to Brad's point earlier, is that if we look at the list, number 1, their past clients and referrals. Their past clients and referrals. Obviously, that's a statistic that may never change. It's still a relationship, referral, book of business. But number 2 is their website. And number 3 is their social media presence. And number 4 is their lawn signs. And number 5 is their search engine efforts. So that is the 1 through 5. Where are the agents of tomorrow generating the most income? And unfortunately, there's no you in there, is there? So the other thing we looked at was the bottom 10. What is the least effective things that you're doing, or what are the things that aren't as effective as the top 5 things that you're doing to generate revenue? And by the way, just going back really quickly, if their website and their social media presence are the 2 and 3 income generators of the people making more than $100,000, that's going to be some stuff that we may need to start learning ourselves and coaching them up on. Number 6, real estate search portals. Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. You certainly can help their business there. There's ways that brokerages and corporations can take advantage of that. Networking events, sure, they're still there, they're relevant. As a broker, as an owner, you have the opportunity to show them where the networking events are, and they are generating income. Classified sites, open houses. Number 10, which was last, and it was last by a mile, was the broker, franchise, website, and social media presence. So the number 1 income generation tool, which is their website and their social media presence, ranked last when we asked the same question about what you guys are doing with your website and your social media presence. So it almost plays like a list of here's what's in now. Here's what's now working right now. $100,000 producers are doing this. And this looks to me a little bit more like the traditional real estate model and the things that were done in the past, the classifieds, the open houses. So if anybody's on Twitter, open houses were 9 and 10 wasn't open houses. 7 out of 10, we wanted to know, is your website effective, real estate agents? Is it effective? Because if we know that the brokers are not generating you business with their own site and social media, maybe they would be better off teaching you how to make yours better instead of putting that effort into theirs because it was ranking last. But here was the problem with that. Agents are ranking their own website a 7 out of 10 effectiveness. That's 100K earners. But they're ranking your websites a 3 out of 10 effectiveness. So how are you going to teach somebody to fish with no bait on your own hook? That's what we're looking at as a challenge for the industry. 98%. That's a big one. That's almost 100%. We didn't just want to know where they were getting their leads from and their income. We wanted to know, once the leads have come in, how are you converting them? What takes them from a lead to an escrow deposit? Because I think a lot of people in the room want that question answered. So social media was a great response. There were all kinds of great responses, but the most effective way of digitally converting people into business is email marketing. Database, IDX registration follow-up, newsletter. That is what 98% of agents who make more than $100,000 said is working the best for them right now. How are they doing it? Are they doing it on the shoestring budget? Are they doing it like Katie mentioned? Facebook's free and WordPress is free. Well, let's take a look at their spend and then think about the spend that you currently have. Their total marketing spend to generate that income, and remember, this isn't just 100K even, it's 100K and up. A lot of the people were well over 200K that responded to this. So $7,500, that is their annual marketing budget. $3,750, that is their annual technology budget. So they're generating $100,000 in income or more, and they're doing it for basically $11,000 or $12,000 per year. So I think that there's things that we can learn from this. It literally looks like it went kind of down the middle. I think it's a belief issue, personally. I'm not sure that they still have the belief that putting the money out there with the broker or figuring out what the broker is doing works. They have lost a little bit of belief on this. So that being said, we wanted to take a look at some additional statistics around certifications and some of those things.
Certifications. Do certifications matter? When we looked at agents making over 100,000 or more, we found that that there was no correlation between production, income, and those certifications they received. Neither do trade organizations. You can't look at YPN as the foundation of tomorrow's agent. So what does that say about the state of training in our industry? When we asked what was the worst type of training that you as an agent making over $100,000 received, the worst type of training they said was their social media training. However, the agents of tomorrow are clearly using social media and making 3 times more than the national average. But what if your brokerage invested in solid social media training and took that as seriously as transaction management, which benefits the broker owner, not necessarily the agent? Aligning your training with things that help the agents make more money. So let's talk about what consumes the most time for agents. Paperwork. The number one thing that is the biggest time waster for agents is paperwork. We know that the thing that's going to make agents more money is the time that they spend with their clients, cultivating leads, working one-on-one with their clients. Paperwork was the number one thing that agents making over $100,000 told us they wish they could outsource. 69% said they wish they could outsource that. Yet 80% of brokerages don't offer any type of virtual assistant program to help agents take the load off with some of that paperwork. Doesn't it make sense to invest in a few virtual assistants that would help free up the agents to help them do what they're really best at, working with clients and selling real estate? Here's the good news. 85% of the agents of tomorrow, agents making over $100,000, are using the cloud. So why not give them a service that would help them make more money for yourself and your brokerage?
So why would they leave you? This is going to be what we wanted to really take away. What would cause them to defect? What's going to cause them to stand up from the desk, say they're mad as hell, and become your competitor, not your consumer? Because that's the shift that we're seeing with some of this data. Are you committed to them because they're here? They're going to teach the classes this week. They were at Agent Reboot yesterday, while many of you were not. While Katie and I were there learning more about them. Agent Reboot isn't a corporate event. It's not a broker event. So why would I go to an event for agents? That's the mentality that has to change. You have to know your agent better than you know yourself right now. So why would they leave? Let's take a look. I bet if we ask the audience right now to say, what is the reason that agents have left historically, that most people would say that it was split. Agents are cheap. I do such a great job for their career, and then the next thing they do is they run over to that other brokerage where there's a better split and a lower desk fee. There's no loyalty amongst these guys, right? Well, here's what was telling for me. This is what really made me feel good about what Katie and I have been doing for a living for the last few years. The number one reason a $100,000 agent of tomorrow will leave your brokerage is technology support. The number two reason is culture. I didn't say split yet, did I? The number three reason is confidence in your vision for the future of your brand. A lot of people would look at that and go, well, culture's big, and again, that's kind of the new people in the industry. They don't understand culture. They don't know. It's not about culture. You can't get people all fired up with nowhere to send them. Well, how about this? How about the agents that have been in the business for more than 20 years who make more than $100,000 have listed culture as the number one reason they will leave you? 20 years in the business, making a lot of money, they're no longer leaving for splits. They're leaving for technology help, they're leaving for culture, and they're leaving because you don't have a clear vision for the future of your brand. So when we started with this, we kind of were looking at how can we keep them from leaving? And what we think we may have just done, and what I hope Katie and I just shared with you, was potentially the formula to not just keep them to stay, but to have more of them coming to you than ever. Not only joining your brand because you're doing what they want you to do, but evangelizing your brand and bringing the other agents of tomorrow into your brokerage. Thank you guys so much.